welcome back to the Geordie View. And Newcastle United have sacked Steve Bruce. Get in there. The new owners have gotten rid of him. He got his 1,000th game against Tottenham, but I knew it was a matter of time before he'd go. As soon as we got the takeover, and they said there'd be no knee-jerk reactions, but finally they have sacked him. So looking back on this time, he arrived in July 2019. He left Sheffield Wednesday. I can't have sympathy for him because the way he walked out on Sheffield Wednesday, we couldn't agree really compensation at the time, so he just left them to come to us. Fair enough, Newcastle's a step up, especially when we're in the Premier League. But given how toxic things were with Rafa leaving, he knew what he was walking into. And I think he did this similar thing at Crystal Palace when he started there. He had a good start. They were top end of the second tier. Well, it's now the Championship. He walked out on them to join Birmingham, got them promoted. I'm sure he walked out on Wigan to join Palace as well earlier. And also he walked out on Wigan to join Sunderland. But now, why did we even... How did we go from Rafa Benitez to this guy? Then again, we went from Sir Bobby Robson to Graeme Jones once upon a time. I mean, this is a guy who was sacked by Sunderland when they were struggling in 2011. He was sacked by Aston Villa because they knew he wasn't the man to get them up. And since then, they've gotten a lot better, playing some decent football under Dean Smith. He got them into the Premier League straight away. And then you've seen that he had, the worst Premier League win percentage of managers with 300 plus games, and that includes likes of Tony Pulis, Joe Kinnear, etc. But looking at his first season, fair enough, we finished 13th, same. It wasn't as bad as we were fearing, which was basically relegation, nailed on. We finished 13th, similar to Rafa Benitez, but a few less points. We got the FA Cup quarter-finals, which was good, but even then, we were getting held by Rochdale and Oxford, who got took the replays. And against Oxford, it took us till extra time to win that game. We did well against West Brom, beating 3-2. Big with a couple of goals. But Man City would just bottled it. We did, to be fair, get 1-0 wins against Tottenham early on in his tenure when Joe Linton scored. We beat Man United, Matty Longstaff scoring. And then we beat Chelsea when Hayden scored right at the death. Also, we beat Bournemouth 4-1 after he changed up to 4 at the back at the end of February of that season. But when we were playing with 5 at the back, it was frustrating. Norwich finished bottom that season, but they still beat with 3-1 when Pookie scored a hat-trick. And then we got held 0-0 at St James's Park. Leicester City losing 5-0 to them at the King Power. That was such a dreadful afternoon. It was even worse when they beat us 3-0 at St James's. Mainly because... I'm mainly saying that because of Jose Perez and Hamza Choudhury getting goals in that game. Plus the amount of injuries we were getting, you thought something was definitely not up right with him. And we also lost 1-0 at Crystal Palace, which was an utter joke. Well, it was just garbage from start to finish. There was quite a few games that season that Dubravka kept winning it. And also playing Nabil Bentaleb, who was absolutely horrific when he came in on loan from Schalke over Matty Longstaff. You're thinking you wouldn't blame Matty, even being a local lad, for a young local lad for leaving. He did sign a 2-year deal with her. But again, this is one of the problems I've had with Steve Bruce, playing players that weren't performing. John Joe Shelby is another one. As I said on Monday in my match review from Spurs, that man is past his finish at this club. But going into the 2020-21 season, we signed a few Premier League players. You thought, okay, let's see what you can do with some players. Let's hope the football can improve, because it wasn't great in the first season. But we're still getting beat 3-0 twice by Brighton, who were in the relegation battle with were. We came so close to losing to Newport County in the Carabao Cup. It took a brilliant strike from Shelby towards the end to get away the pens, and then we won the shootout. And all of a sudden that winter, that horrible run, was it 11 games or something? We lost, was 5-2 to Leeds United. Well, and especially was one of those goals where it was like 4 players against the goalkeeper. Oh, that was just horrific. What was even worse was losing 1-0 at Brentford. You didn't even start their top striker in Van Tony. Oh, that was just embarrassing. Fair enough, he did field a good side, a team that should have won the game, but still there was no game plan. And losing 1-0 at Sheffield United, that was a total disaster. I mean, we got dominated by Sheffield United, who didn't even win a game up until that point. But then we gave them the first win. I mean, thankfully it wasn't as embarrassing as when we gave Derby their only win of the season, and then the nearly won at St James's Park as well, because Sheffield did win some more games, and we did beat them at St James's Park when the fans came back. But still, if you had any dignity, you'd have walked, and that's another reason why I can't have sympathy for him. I'm not buying into this, boyhood club thing. It wasn't. He would have walked. Be like John Carver, he would have walked if he was a fan. Simple as that. He's a Man United fan, and it's ironic, actually, we've done this on the 25th anniversary of us hammering Man United 5-0. I think he was the pundit for the game. He was making prediction like, I'm going to go with my mates from Manchester, something I've seen on Twitter a year ago, when celebrating the anniversary of the game. So, and getting into this season, fair enough we only signed Joe Willock after his loan spell, but we'll still win this in the season. In his press conference, and the pressure's been getting to him. Arguing with journalists, especially on Friday, saying along the lines of, I hope you're feeling the heat from your bosses. And this morning, he's gone. He is gone. And I'm so glad about that. We'll get on to what's going to happen going forward soon. But also, not to mention, there were players that went backwards under him. The 3 players I'm going to pick out mainly, let us know if you think there's any more that went backwards under him. But I'm only going off players that were here before him. Sean Longstaff, we thought, alright, this guy's the next big thing. When during the second half of Rafa's last season, he was scoring against Burnley. He had that brilliant display against Man City when we beat them 2-1. He's went backwards under Steve Bruce. I mean, you can see the lad's got talent, looking at that Watford game, for example. But maybe I feel like there's players like him who I think, if they don't perform to the next manager, then likelihood is they'll be out by next summer at the latest. Florian Jones is another one who's went backwards. Fair enough, was injury prone under Rafa, but when he did come back into the side after a long time out, Steve Bruce made him play 4 games in 11 days or something, and yeah, not a good way to manage him, because he was a good centre back under Rafa Benitez, even if he was so injury prone. And another centre back who's gone backwards, Fabian Schär, fantastic in that 18-19 season. All the goals scored, especially the first one against Cardiff, and that thunderbolt against Burnley. But he just went backwards under Steve Bruce. Although I would still be picking him at this moment in time ahead of what with our current defence right now. But in general, the whole defence has gone backwards. we were so solid under Rafa Benitez. Yes, the football wasn't pretty, but we were defending brilliantly. Like, Lascelles should have went to that 2018 World Cup, in my opinion. Fair enough, we got to the semi-finals, but I was so annoyed when Southgate left him out of the squad. You know, in 2018-19, we was showing defensive organisation again. You know, something we hadn't seen under Steve for a good few years before Rafa. But under Steve Bruce, it's just gone completely backwards. I think, is it 139 goals we conceded, the most in the Premier League in his time he's been at the club. Obviously, I know there's, you're not really counting the clubs that have come up or went down, but still says something about him as a manager. And his final record, I think, as a Newcastle, I think was something along the lines of 28 wins, 28 draws, 41 losses. Not good enough. And, given some of the players he's been allowed to have, Alan St. Maximin, Callum Wilson, I think Jamal Lewis, you could even add. There is some talent there. Otherwise Liverpool wouldn't have been sniffing around him when we signed him. But, and obviously players that have went backwards under him. But, you kind of read, and as I said, I can't have sympathy for him because of the condition, even if with the conditions he's working on, because he knew what he was walking into. I just think he was waiting for his payoff from the owners. A bit like Steve McLaren, just waiting for that paycheck. But on the plus side, Mr. Bruce, Watford might have a job for you soon because they keep sacking managers. Get another job, get a few million more, and then get some more when you get the sack from their owners. Or maybe you could apply for the Man United job when they eventually sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which seems to bound to happen eventually. But seriously though, going forward, it looks like Graeme Jones will be in charge against Crystal Palace. The coaching staff, just Steve Bruce's left right now. I'm sure the rest of his coaching staff will fall when the new manager comes in. Graeme Jones, I don't mind actually keeping as part of the coaching staff because he did have a bit of an impact when he came in January last year. To be fair to him, I think Callum Wilson's even talked about it. Right now, in terms of going forward, Paulo Fonseca is in talks. I'd rather just try and get a manager for the long term who can help us escape relegation and then build from there, rather than just a short term manager, in my opinion. Don't get us wrong, even a Roy Hodgson would be better than Steve Bruce, but we need to think long term. I'm sure that's what the owners are doing. I'll talk more about Fonseca if he does get the job, or whoever it is who gets the job. But don't forget, hit like, subscribe to my channel, check out my social media pages in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.